Meantime, China's top diplomat wrapped up a visit to Moscow today with a meeting with Vladimir Putin. Wang Yi and the Russian president agreed that cooperation between the countries is reaching new milestones. Just days ago, U.S. officials expressed concerns over China's partnership with Russia and how it could affect the war in Ukraine. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Putin will meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping in the coming months. Joining us now for more perspective is Charles Burton, Senior Fellow at Macdonald-Laurier Institute and former political science professor. He joins us today from Ottawa. Charles, good to see you.
It's good to speak with you, Lois.
So, Charles, I want to get your impressions of this meeting between Wang Yi and President Vladimir Putin, his counterparts in Russia. Talk to us a little bit about this meeting and the timing of it, given that the U.S. president has just spoken in Poland.
Well, I think that the Russians are concerned about the solidity of their relationship with China. I mean, obviously, China does not want Russia not to succeed in Ukraine because, you know, the basis for that military action was that Ukraine should be part of Mother Russia. And the parallels to China's claim over Taiwan, that Taiwan is an inalienable part of the Chinese motherland and therefore can be annexed militarily at any time that Beijing feels it's appropriate, are just too close. So I think that China is trying to come up with some means to resolve the Ukraine war without incurring the U.S. sanctions if China provides substantive military aid to Russia. And the latest seems to be a proposal that China would oversee some kind of peace talks, negotiations, maybe based on the six-party talks over the North Korean nuclear threat. And I imagine that China's first demand in those talks would be that NATO cease to provide military aid to Ukraine maybe it's what China would put as a gesture of good faith. So, you know, China's desperate to see some resolution and really wants to work it out with Russia in a way that will favor China's interests.
Well, the U.S. does not seem to be very comfortable and it seems to be quite concerned about China's involvement here with Russia. What do you think it will mean if China does become more involved in regards to providing more military aid to Russia?
Well, I mean, that would be a disastrous move in terms of the relations between the U.S. and Canada and our like-minded allies and Russia and China. If Russia and China start to form a meaningful alliance to challenge NATO and to try and weaken our alliances with nations in Eastern Europe and in the Indo-Pacific, that this could take us closer to military confrontation. So obviously this is something that we don't welcome, and but it seems that there's a certain inevitability that tensions between the autocratic regimes of China and Russia and the liberal democratic West, who wants to defend a rules-based order based on the sovereignty of states, is coming up. And, China and Russia resolving their differences and forming a solid alliance in which Russian military superiority could be combined with Chinese resources is, of course, very destabilizing to both Eastern Europe and to the Indo-Pacific, and a grave risk to the continuance of world peace and prosperity in the world.
Just finally here, Charles, this week Russia suspended its last nuclear arms treaty with the U.S., a START treaty. How do you think that might be factoring into China's diplomatic strategy here?
Well, I mean, they're certainly making a statement that, they can no longer collaborate with the United States and the West in any way. And if there is a meeting between Mr. Xi and Mr. Putin in the spring, I think that would be to send out a signal to the world that China and Russia will stand strongly against the West and try and weaken those alliances that maintain stability in both the Indo-Pacific and Eastern Europe. The whole thing is not going well, and China and Russia getting closer and closer together is not something that will be of benefit to the world.
All right, we do have to leave it there for the interest of time. We thank you for yours. Charles Burton, Senior Fellow at Macdonald-Laurier Institute. Thank you so much.